with us?
So today is the feast of Saint Augustine of Canterbury, who has some connections to England. And today we also celebrate the 42nd anniversary of Episcopal ordination of our Bishop Emeritus, Bishop Clark. And of course, our patron saint for the diocese is St. John Fisher, who also has connections to England. So it kind of all comes together. So as we pray, let us keep in mind and in prayer Bishop Clark, who, like I said, today we honor this kind of momentous anniversary. So let us begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. As we listen to this reflection about St. Augustine of Canterbury. St. Augustine of Canterbury comes across today as a very human saint, one who could suffer, like many of us, from a failure of nerve. For example, his first venture to England ended in a big U-turn back to Rome. He made mistakes and met failure in his peacemaking attempts with the Briton Christians. He often wrote to Rome for decisions on matters he could have decided on his own had he had been more self-assured. He even received mild warnings against pride from Pope Gregory, who cautioned him to fear lest, amidst the wonders that are done, the weak mind be puffed up by self-esteem. Augustine's perseverance amidst obstacles and only partial success teaches today's apostles and pioneers to struggle on despite frustrations and be satisfied with gradual advances. And so, Lord, we ask you to give us the gift of perseverance, of courage, of strength in the midst of our own challenges, our own obstacles as we continue to serve you and your people. We ask all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Mark, for sharing that prayer. We had a gift from Bishop Matano at the Pastoral Center today. He had a food truck come and provide lunch for all of us. And that was really special as a thank you for this year and all the work we've done in this very unusual pandemic year. So that was kind of fun. That was nice. We will first share our announcement. So I don't know if Katie or Mark want to share your screen. Okay, so the first thing we have is our Going, Going, Gone books. And we'll be bringing a lot of our books. We've been packing them up and we'll be bringing them to our retreat day at Mendon Ponds Park. But if you can't be with us that day, or you want to make sure that you get something before it's gone, please call us and let us know, and we can ship these resources and others right out to you. So this is what we're highlighting this week. We do have a lot of textbook series that we are not bringing with us that day because they're super heavy and they just take up a lot of space. So we're only bringing individual kind of library type books. But if you are interested, if you're missing a copy of a book, or you need a few extra copies of a book that you use, Or if you would like to preview some text series or just have a couple of other resources in your personal library that can assist you in planning lessons, please contact us. We're not going to be bringing those, but we have a lot, all of the major publishers we have, and we are happy to share those with you. So going, gone. We're getting rid of a lot of stuff. Thank you to all who are building their libraries and helping us find good homes for those resources that we have. Next slide. All right, so our upcoming Zoom meetings, we are just on 2 meetings a month right now. So in June, we're going to be doing 2 things. We're going to talk in the first meeting in June, on June 10th, about the What If series of articles by John Roberto. They give us a lot of food for thought. Some are a little more, I think, give us a little more new information. Some are things that we probably already know and have heard, but it is really good for us to keep talking about these things, especially as we are planning for next year. Some of you may already have calendars in place and figuring out curriculum, but these are good things for us to share and learn about. So come prepared to talk about those articles. We'll be in discussion groups for that, and we'll share kind of our fine points, the things that really stood out to us at the end of the meeting. So the format of that meeting will be to pray, share announcements, get right into groups and start sharing, and then to come back and share overall thoughts. That's how June 10th will look. On June 24th, we're going to be sharing new resources that we're currently working on to update catechist formation opportunities, to share communication between catechists. We're going to be highlighting those, and we're going to talk about some priorities. We have this new call from Pope Francis to reinstitute the role of catechists. And so let's talk about what that means. What's that going to mean for the future? It means different things than we typically think of, but let's talk about its impact on us as well. So come with your thoughts on that. And next slide. We still have spaces for you to take the master class on practical radical hospitality. I listened to a webinar this week from NFCYM with Jane Anga as the moderator of the webinar, and she's great. She's a joy to listen to. I think you will really enjoy this class. It'll help you think about whether or not you're hitting all the notes, doing all that you should be doing as far as hospitality is concerned for people, especially in the welcome back. We're in this time of welcome back and exploring what that means. So she'll be able to talk about that and how we can reach out to those who are disaffiliated, those who are feeling abandoned by the church. Next slide. We're hoping you can join us a week from today at Mendham Ponds Park at Hopkins Point at the shelter there. It's going to be a great afternoon of unpacking our imaginations, tapping into them, and trying to apply that use of imagination to storytelling. How can we become better storytellers in the faith? How can we engage the imaginations of the people that we are serving, the children and the families that we're serving? Imagination is a big part of the acceptance of faith, because if you're going to accept something that is not a tangible thing that you can hold, you need to have a wonderful imagination to be able to embrace who God is and how you fit into that picture. We're going to be using it in the context of creation, since we're out in a park for the day, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do some paint and pray, creative prayer. We're going to have time to share our stories, our favorite stories. Come with your favorite story, either through film or in a children's book, something that has impacted you, that has a great message of faith. And then we'll talk about how we become better storytellers to spark the imagination of those that we are ministering to. And we'll have time, plenty of time for fellowship. There's free lunch and a social following. We really hope you can join us. If you are coming to the social and you're bringing something to share, please consider how you might bring it in individual servings. If not, we can serve, we'll have one person serve, but if you can bring it in an individual serving, we'd love that. Our staff is going to prepare little charcuteries, which are little mini mason jars. It's a Pinterest thing. And we'll have treats in the little jars for you to take that you can just walk with and move around with. So please consider that. Next slide. Mark, you want to talk about these?
Again, I think I might have mentioned this the last time, but we have this great guide for parishes who currently have young adult ministry or are looking to possibly start a young adult ministry. Really practical tips on how to create leaders within the ministry, how to deal with difficult situations or difficult personalities among your young adult community. So if you are interested in a free copy, we do have a couple of copies that are available. You can shoot me an email and we can send you a copy. Again, great book for young adult ministry. This is a young adult opportunity that we are trying to offer either this summer or if we have to wait for the fall. But this is a great way for young adults to understand their spiritual gifts and how to intentionally use them to serve God and to live out their faith. It is really great in that not only is there an understanding of one's own spiritual gifts, but in the course of this 3-part process, young adults help one another to identify their gifts. So it's great that not only is there self-discernment, but you have people that are helping one another discern their gifts. So if you would like more information or you know young adult that would benefit from going through this called and gifted process, again, contact me and I can share more information and make sure we take down information. We are making progress in our local NCYC experience. We are really honing in on this idea of igniting the NCYC experience. So one of the things that the committee had shared in our last meeting is a desire to host a kickoff gathering. So we are beginning the planning of that kickoff gathering. We are looking to host that on Sunday, November 14th, which is the Sunday before the conference itself. It will be here in Rochester or somewhere in our diocese, and it will be in person. We've also created a virtual participation ticket package. So obviously NFCYM had put out costs for tickets for virtual participation, but what we've done is we've taken that and we've kind of bundled it with diocesan swag, if you will, as well as admission into the kickoff gathering. So that is now available via our website. We'll also send that in an NCYC update here shortly, but it's nice because You can purchase the virtual participation tickets and admission to the kickoff gathering all in kind of one shot. So hopefully that will make things easier on all of you. There's also social media posts and a promotional video that is specific to our diocesan celebration that is available now, so that you can try to share all the things that are going to be happening with your young people at the parish. For those of you that have scouts in your parishes that have earned a religious emblem since the last time we hosted a ceremony back in February of 2020, we are hosting a recognition ceremony on Saturday, June 12th at 10 a.m. at St. Pius in Chili. We do ask that people pre-register for this ceremony, so they can do that by going to our website and then clicking on Catholic Scouting. But it will be a ceremony with the bishop where they will receive their blessed religious emblems from the bishop.
All right, some webinars to watch that you're going to want to know about. Today I got an email from RCL that let me know about a couple of webinars they have coming up that focus on next year, planning for faith formation next year, and doing that, all that re-engagement with people that may have been lost through this past year. There's one today at 3:30 that I'm registered for. And there's also one on June 17th called Witnesses or Teachers, Ways for Leaders to Engage Moms and Dads. It looks to be a really good topic. These are free 45-minute webinars. And if you need the link, I did go to RCL where they have the webinars and could not find the link without just going to it directly from the email. So if you need a link to register for that, if you're interested, just send me a quick email and I will forward you the email from RCL. But looks like this will be something good to watch. And then next slide is about an additional webinar. There are webinars being provided by NCPD, and that is the organization in the Catholic Church that focuses on disabilities as well as mental illnesses. And they have a series connecting the 5 tasks of catechesis for diverse learners. I'm very excited about this series. I think that the more training we can get in this area, the better. So I highly recommend these webinars. They are also free, and you can get to them just using that link in the bottom of the slide. But you can go to ncp.org and find it as well. And I think that this is going to be a really good series. It starts, I believe, next week. And goes for 5 weeks. So it looks like it's going to be a great opportunity. I also want to invite you to be part of a learning community that Jean Mooney let me know about through the McGrath Institute. This is a 5 session, it's 5 sessions, right, Jean?
Yes.
Yeah, 5 sessions.
And the videos are going to be all recorded. So if you're not able to make it on one day or another, you'll be able to get the video. There are also some live sessions with experts every week. So it's a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, so this is from the McGrath Institute, and it is about the issue of disaffiliation and will they come back? And it's a liturgy series where they're going to explore this topic. Usually This session is $50 per person to take these 5 different, to attend these 5 different webinars, to get the resources from it, etc. I am happy to register a group. As a group rate, we'll take responsibility for the payment out of our office here, and we can get together, hear the webinars, get the resources, and then schedule a time for us to go into a little bit deeper conversation. If you would like to be part of that learning group, send me a note either in the chat or via email. I can take 4 people along with myself and Jean, and we would love to get in a discussion group with you. If you can't be present at all the online recordings, that's okay, because they will be recorded and sent to you. So we won't schedule our conversations so that they happen, you know, immediately following or anything like that. We know that summertime, people's schedules are a little in flux. So we'll schedule conversations after we get a chance to at least go through a few at a time, and we can decide as a group how we'll meet. But I think if you're concerned about this topic, and you should be, this is a great opportunity. If we get more than 4 people who want to do it, I will think about doing 2 different groups, and we'll do the discussions together, but I'll register as many people as want to take this, because it looks like there's going to be a lot of good learning to come from it. So let me know if you want to participate in this summer study with us. And I think there's some good things to be learned from it. So it's through the McGrath Institute. It's on disaffiliation. We'll have a discussion group. Send me an email if you would like to participate. I couldn't find anything that I could just plop onto a slide, so I thought I would just talk about it, and we'd go from there. So I hope you'll participate in that. All right, so let's talk about what we heard last week. The first thing that we want just your thoughts on, are just, let's hear your overall impression of what you heard at the ministerium. What stuck with you from that presentation that day? We'll just open up the floor.
I wasn't able to attend, although I registered, because we had a death in the family, or a funeral that got scheduled for that time. Was that recorded? I have been back through stuff and haven't seen it yet.
It was recorded. Were you able, I think that the person to reach out to would be, what's her name? Shannon? Sophia, yeah, it's an S, I knew that. Sophia was in charge of the day. So I think if you reach out to her, and I can give you her exact contact information, she could probably send you the link for that. I didn't get a post that it was available like you do sometimes after webinars.
Right. I think I got the thank you for attending email. Was that from her? Do you remember? Okay.
Yes.
Then I have the contact. I'll reach out to her. Thank you.
Yeah, I would reach out and ask them directly.
Okay, this is Patty. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Patty.
Hi. So one thing I wanted to comment about was how much I enjoyed Mrs. Licona's explanation of the saints, or her venture into the lives of the saints, because for a couple of reasons, but one of them is that I think lots of times when we're introducing the saints, we're talking about, how, this saint was so holy, and we don't talk about enough about what their conversion experience was. Excuse me. So that's one thing I really enjoyed about her talk.
Okay. I'm sorry. I hate that feeling when you have something in your throat, you can't talk. I hope you're okay.
I'll go too. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great ministerium time. Actually, I liked it better than any of the others that I've ever been to because I felt like I was able to understand what was being talked about and the topic was really engaging. And I just really liked how, she talked about like dark times and persecution, families ripped apart, property taken from us. Just what she was saying at that time really spoke to how I was feeling, just very like, I don't know. I feel like this is a dark time. Like it's a hard time for families and people to be out in the world. And she talked about that in adversity, God sends saints. And then she proceeded to talk more about, some of the other saints that she highlighted, which was all really good. And I really, the different ones that she talked about, especially the Mary Micklem. I didn't quite get the name down. I was trying to take notes, but she said that she comes before God with total openness, comes to him with everything in prayer. And she talked about making an offering of your life. And I just felt like that's something that I could really relate to is, going to God in everything with prayer and your life. So, thank you everybody for putting that in the chat.
Nicole. I was just looking that up too. Thanks, Jeanette. Thank you, Christine. Who else has impressions from last week? I agree with you, Christine. I think that it was nice to be inspired because we really could connect to the stories of the saints, even though their experiences may have been different. This is a historical year, and this is a time in history that people are going to remember as, I think, a dark time. So, it was definitely a timely conversation for that.
I'll share, I missed actually the first speech, but I got the recording from Sophia, so I can go back and watch it. What I enjoyed was hearing from 3 different perspectives. First of all, on the panel was fantastic. And the emphasis on seems like the basics, talking about helping people get faith into their daily lives. And that's what I was focusing on, this whole past year through the pandemic, is just to get people to get help, assist my families and coach the parents and help them not to be overwhelmed by the task of, instilling faith in their children, because it seems really huge. And a lot of them think they don't have, they always handed it off to the parish for the most part. But it's not something that you could just learn. I'm preaching to the choir here. But it needs to be in your life every day, helping you make decisions, helping you make choices about your time. So that's what I appreciated, was that everybody spoke to that.
I've heard a lot lately about, this is just like the time in the early church with Pentecost being around. There's been a lot of conversation about the early church and the house churches and, what was that like, and how do we start with the simplest of tasks? And that really is, I think that if helping families to pray isn't part of what you have planned into your year, and you're filling it with things that are really complicated, like church history or something like that, get back to the basics and really just honor the fact that these families with all their good intentions just don't have, all of the tools they need, and how can we equip them? How can we help them to get there?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just move a little bit closer. You're
Closer?
quiet.
All right. I'm sorry I'm late. First of all, I was in the middle of something. I hope I'm not repeating anything, but I can just say that I really enjoyed Sister Isabel. I don't know if you guys talked about her yet or not.
No, we
probably
didn't.
You didn't? Okay. Well, you know, what I liked about her was her sense of joy. She just had a real sense of joy that just sort of, was almost contagious. And I feel like we've all sort of had this year where it's hard sometimes to produce that joy. And, I've always found such joy in what I do and in sharing my faith with the kids. And I still am doing that. But I think it's a really good idea to just remind ourselves the importance of finding joy in the simple things, like you said, teaching the families to pray and, making that an important thing and not overcomplicating it right now, but she was great. I enjoyed her. I just liked watching her smile. And Leslie, I thought you did a very nice job too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I
Represented us,
actually got off that and said, I hope that I actually said what I wanted to say because it was all a blur. So.
But it was good. And I agree with Christine. I sort of felt the same way that it was more directed to us this time. Sometimes the keynotes and it goes over us. It really does. Or it's like, how does this relate to my ministry and what I'm doing every day? So that was nice. And it was nice hearing the bishop. And, there was something a little more intimate about having the Zoom, even though, because we were right there, he was right there in front of us. And that was sort of cool. So, I got a lot out of it too. So that's all I have to say.
Mark and I talked after the presentation about the sister's demeanor, and I just loved her demeanor as well. I found her also very calming.
Yeah.
She just, where I felt very nervous as I was talking, she didn't seem to have a care in the world as she was talking. She was so just relaxed. And I said to Mark, I really would love to have her come and talk to us, do something.
I know.
That, is there something that we could do for young adults with her? Because I really, really just liked how calm she was.
Right.
And, and smiling too. She was very engaging. So if you had, does anybody else have something that they wanted to share before I transition? No? Okay. If you had to, thinking about the saints and the saints that Lisa talked about, if you had to name a saint that was the patron saint of this year, who would be the patron saint of the year that you have just experienced? Who would be the patron saint? This came up in our staff meeting, and I just thought it was a great question. Who's the patron saint of your year? Patty says St. Jude. Patron saint of lost causes, Patty?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I think you brought that up in staff, didn't you, Mark?
I did indeed. Him and I are tight.
Yeah. My patron is usually St. Anthony, patron saint of lost things, because I'm always trying to figure out, I'm doing 1,000 things at once, and I'm always trying to figure out what I was doing last, where I put this last, where do I restart that? So my mind is always in a million different places. But I also think that I was trying to connect with a saint who embraced living in new ways. I think that even though, I may have had a lot of opportunities to forget this year, but we've also had a lot of opportunities to learn new things, embrace new ways, embrace change, and not hide under a rock, but just push forward and do the difficult work that needed to be done. And I don't have enough knowledge of a particular saint that would mirror that, but I kept thinking of Saint Damien and how he just went into the unknown. Saint Damien just took that on and said, okay, I don't know what's going to come of this, but I may not make it through. I'm still going to I'm going to move myself forward into this experience of the wounded. And I think, like Christine was saying, it has been a tough year and there are a lot of wounded, and we're in a field hospital, just like Pope Francis likes to remind us. And so we're kind of we've gone into the deep a little bit. And I think Saint Damien is an example of that, just going in with a full heart and just being prepared to put himself out there, put ourselves out there and say, this is what needs to be done. And we're going to be there for the people. I don't know. I think he might be kind of an extreme example of that, but he's one of my favorite saints. And I just have that, connection of taking on new things that are unknown and a little bit scary.
I was thinking of Julian of Norwich, not only because she was around at the time of a plague, and she was kind of stuck in her space with just a little window, like a Zoom window, onto the world, and people would come up and talk to her. But also,
That's great.
So she was living in this very confined situation, and yet, through her writings and her prayer, she really took that time and made, a legacy of material for us. There's also something about her cat, which I really don't understand, but she got really close to her cat. But I just thought, she was in that situation where, she was kind of serving others from her little Zoom window.
Yeah,
So.
that's great. That's a great example. I love that. Pam put in Mary Undoer of Knots. That's a great one too. I saw a great statue the other day, just did a picture of a statue, but I was looking for something for a Canva post for, I do the diocesan Instagram, and it was a statue of Mary that just had, the knots all the way down, the rope and the knots all the way down. And they had thought I had put in Mary, Mother of the Church, and that statue came up, and it didn't quite fit, but I love that. I love that prayer, Mary Undoer of Knots. That's definitely a great image for our year as well. Patty says she nearly burned the house down this morning because she was so distracted. Oh dear, Patty. Yeah. And Mark is tight with St. Anthony because he lost his wallet this week.
Oh.
Yeah, put it on top of his car.
And drove away.
Oh boy.
Did you find your wallet?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
somewhere on 5 and 20, I'm sure, in Auburn.
Oh,
Yeah. It's been a long week.
But one thing that I share with the office is you have to have humor. And so if there's a saint of humor or something similar, I think that would be mine. Because
you have to.
you have to have not take things too seriously, but
Actually, Mark St. Philip Neri, whose feast day was yesterday, I think, right? Or the day
yes,
before.
yesterday, yep.
He's known as the saint who laughed a lot. Said he didn't mind being ridiculous if it would keep him humble. So that's what came up when I put that in. Anybody else have a patron saint of your year before we move on? So another thing they talked about, which we just thought would be worthwhile and kind of processing the morning, they asked the panel, what were your lights and what were your shadows from the year? So each of us were asked to share our lights and shadows. We would like to invite you to share your lights and shadows from the year. And this kind of evaluation, I think, is just good in helping us figure out where do we go from here. How do we, capitalize on those lights, and how do we face the shadows and either work within them or move beyond them, move forward from them? Who wants to share lights and shadows?
I can go. Lights. Well, one thing that jumps to mind quickly is we didn't really hold any in-person like regular things, but because I use the Flam Gospel Weeklies, it was kind of a built-in excuse to see everybody like every other month for kind of a pickup day. And we combined those. They were mostly all a success, but the one that I thought that was really good was the last one in March. We came together to pray through the Stations of the Cross, and I invited students to be readers, just kind of like generally at first, but then I asked a few specific families if their kids would read one of the stations. And so I wasn't really sure, what the turnout would be, but it was really, really great. I think that people really were hungering for an opportunity to come together, and of course it was great for their children to be so highly involved. I mean, obviously we didn't move around the church. We just all stayed in our pews, and we had to wipe everything down after, and I wiped the microphone and everything between each kid, so it's kind of like, oh, I really didn't want to do that, but I really want to do it because I really, wanted to be able to bring people together. And so, yeah, so I didn't expect it to be kind of just a nice time of prayer and a nice time to come together. And normally I wouldn't go through all that work to try to organize a different kid to read each station, but I was really glad that I did because, again, it just kind of was more personal and everybody knew what they were doing. And, all the times that we've talked about, oh, we should pray the stations, during regular class time, there's never really a chunk of time to do that as an experience of prayer together. So that was really good. And then, yeah, I don't know, shadows are it just was really hard to I just struggled with like, do you cater to the lowest common denominator? Like by that, I mean, do you make everything revolve around the one family who doesn't want to do anything in person, or, wants everybody to wear a mask, or, and so I kind of have learned, although it's been a real struggle, that, people are on different levels of comfort, and that there needs to be opportunities for all levels of comfort. And so it's still, an ongoing struggle. Again, thinking about next year, I mean, I avoid conflict as much as possible. So, so that's just kind of an overhanging, I guess, still kind of ongoing shadow.
I think for me, the shadow, and speaking off of what Christine just said, but my own personal, getting caught up in frustration and just stewing about things that I didn't think were right, or not understanding for a while. It took me a long time to get in touch with just how different we all are and how different each of our experiences are. And that's okay. So the shadow for me was just accepting, realizing that kind of dark side of myself that I really didn't like, but being able to come out of it, and with God's mercy, really being at peace with a space that we are different, and we are different things make us afraid, and different things give us strength. And that's the beauty of us, I think, now. So that was my shadow was just myself on many days. But my light just came the light that's coming to mind was this past Sunday. We met both virtually and in person. So it was like double work. We did everything both ways. But my last confirmation class, I brought everyone back, the year twos and year ones together. And we only got a third of the kids to show up, but hearing my year twos speak of what light they took away from confirmation itself, I'm watching the year ones listen and really get something out of it. And then we had one young lady who, I don't know, in many cases has no business being in confirmation preparation. She would have her boyfriend in the Zoom meetings with her from her bedroom. And it just was a real struggle to know what to do with that. She came to this session. It's the first time I've ever seen her in person. I didn't know who she was when she walked in, and she sat there and listened and didn't say a word, but she volunteered to take a couple pictures of the fun time that we had. And I just had tears in my eyes by the end of that. She may never come back, but for that moment in time, she saw and witnessed God's love. So that was my light. So, and I wanted to cancel that class because Satan was working hard on me, because our last couple of sessions, we had real battles with parents that didn't want to hear the church's teaching on many of our moral issues. And we were even going real light and easy, and we just got lambasted because we would dare to say the things that we said. So it would have been real easy to just say, I think we're done, but we didn't, and we were rewarded for it. So that's my light.
That's great, Pam. Thanks for sharing. Pam, if it makes you feel better, I had a confirmation girl that in the initial interview, she sat under the table with her arms around her knees and just refused to answer any questions whatsoever. We let her join confirmation. This was several years ago. And she made it through, and the girl, she really did scare me a little bit. And about 5 years ago or so, she's now in her 20s. I saw her out somewhere and she came up to me and, Mrs. Parkin, hi, it's so good to see you. And I knew who she was right away. And I thought, it is? Like, really? I couldn't believe she was saying this. And she said, I think about you a lot. You left a big impression on me. You made a big difference for me. And I'm really glad to see you. I hope everything's great. It wasn't a huge thing, but it was after, having her be totally unresponsive to chasing me down to say hello to me. They listen more than we think, and they hear more than we know. And it makes a difference. You might never know that you planted a seed. You might never run into her and get the opportunity to have her tell you that, but the kids get something even when we think that they don't. Who else has a light and shadow?
I do. For me, the shadow of this past year was that everything kept changing and I had to come up with something new. I love to rely on the structure that I build. I spend a lot of time making sure that it's going to be flexible, it's totally out the window, right? Totally out the window. And it still is an effort. I mean, I know we're going the opposite direction that we're opening up. We're still having to keep changing things. It was exhausting, but the light in that was that I would never have gotten to know the family so well as I did, through the Zoom meetings, but also because they weren't with me for homework, I had them take pictures of the stuff they did. And I got so many sweet pictures of the little kids holding up their thing that they did, or when I sent them outside to see God in nature, they were outside with the tree with all different colors. And, and then the parents would send me little notes, how are things going? I would say, oh, how did Johnny like the rosary? And then I'd get a picture, and something, oh, he really, and a little story to go with that. So I was able to have a lot of these little micro interactions with the families that they were fantastic, and I don't want to give that up. So I think I may be having people do those photo assignments, again.
It's great. It's wonderful to have that connection to the domestic church and be able to be part of their lives and not just see them for an hour on the weekend, but, have them open that little window into their life.
Yeah, and that was for me too. They could, because I had them from home, so they could see my living room and I could see their living room. It was like I was right there in their house, and that would never happen, right? That would never happen. Safe environment, we're not gonna go in the home. But it was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
Lights and shadows. Anybody else?
Mine kind of go together, but I think a shadow was missing, seeing everyone personally and in person and being with people. But the light of that was, reaching more people and being able to gather like this weekly and not having to drive to one place and missing because of weather and whatnot. But I think this was really special to have Zoom and reach more people and gather like this.
Yeah.
I appreciate these meetings too. I don't know. I guess that has been sort of my light because, or am I still there? I don't know.
Yeah, you're still here.
You can see me. I don't know what I did. I can't see me. Oh, there you are. Okay. So anyway, it's getting back into faith formation after being out of it for 2 years, although I was never really out of it because, once you're in it, you're always part of it. And So it was really nice to have these meetings to come and to just sort of have people to talk to that get where we're coming from. And you know, Thursdays, I'm here by myself in this great big building. And so I look forward to seeing everybody, you know, and it's good. So that's been a real light for me. And shadows have just been, it's just been a tough year. And, you know, I'm not going to get into politics or anything, but I'm just going to say that there was a lot of political crap. Can I say crap on our Zoom? There's a lot of political junk out there, and there was such division among people, and it's created a hard thing that, you know, even within my own family. And so I'm dealing with like family stuff and yet trying to start a new job, and you know, it's not always easy. And I have to focus in the moment, and the kids really, really help me do that, because, you know, when I'm around the children and I see their light, and they're not thinking about this, that, and the other thing, and they're listening to you and sort of in the moment. And it's a beautiful thing. I had a first communion this morning at a daily mass because the family hasn't been back to church. The little boy has asthma, and he's been, you know, but he's starting to come back into things. And she said he really wanted to do it. And I met with him a couple weeks ago. We had such a wonderful conversation. He was so excited. And it was a beautiful thing. It was a small little mass, and it was beautiful, you know? And so what a way to start your day. I mean, and being with the kids and the sacrament of the Eucharist and being able to come together. I mean, as hard as it's been, once we came back and we were together in community again, what a difference it made, right? I mean, it makes me want to cry thinking about it, just because I remember just the first time going to Eucharist after not going for so long. It really makes you appreciate Jesus that much more, how much you want him, you know? So there's been a lot of, like, it seems like really lows, and then yet some real highs. And it's been humbling, because it makes us realize that it really is the little things this year that have gotten us through, you know, that have made us happy. So,
Yeah.
and those kids, the little kids, the little things I'm talking about, but those kids are the best. They are the best, you know, and sharing our faith and our love with them. Really, guys, we have a good gig. This is a good thing we got going here, you know, it really is. So I guess that's it for me. So
Thanks, Jeanette.
you're welcome.
It is the little things, and it's the simple things, and it is the personal relationships, and it is the support of one another. And those are all the lights that we have taken from this year, learning to embrace simplicity, and learning to embrace just connection like this with it, and enjoy connection, and not be too busy for connection. That's been really great. So it is time for us to wrap up for the day. This quiet little session has been nice. And we are looking forward to sharing the afternoon with those of you who can be with us next week. If you can't be with us, we hope you will be with us in spirit and say a little prayer for us on our day. I'm going to ask that you please hold in prayer our friend Chris Bergio, who had some emergency surgery. She needs prayers for healing and strength, our friend. And so if you could hold her in prayer, and please get the word out. Let us know if there are transitions happening at your parish or any new people. Our office really is striving to be connected with all of you as much as we can. And we can't do that unless we hear about things. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you hear about something, let us know. We wouldn't have known about Chris, Donna Gray. Let us know. And that was great, because we care very much about her, as we do all of you, and want to be able to pray for her and support her. So thank you for being with us today, and for sharing your insight and your inspiration. And we look forward to seeing you on Zoom again on June 10th. Take care, everybody. Be well.